Welcome back to the channel. All right, we're finishing off the top 10s of each class. We do the semi-annually review, and this year we reviewed the champions from 2022, and then now we're doing the top 20 champions overall in the game. Part 1 covered all of the honorable mentions. It covered the broken champions who have been removed from this list, and then we did 15 through 11, and now we're going to do 10 through 1. We'll go over my Discord server's rankings too. It's very exciting and cool to see as I tabulate all their votes. Take that in, and then I will obviously give you mine as well, and then we'll talk through my champions. That was a request from last year and something that people seem to have been enjoying this year. So I'm gonna have a lot of fun with it. If you haven't seen part 2, or part 1, I really think you should check it out. It's in the playlist, and then we'll go ahead and start off here with my servers number 10. We'll get right into this because this might take a while. My servers number 10 is none other than Rintrah. Now this is the end of a tier for them. Rintrah came in with 21 tallied votes, and number 15 had 14. So you can see it was pretty close together. Number 1 actually has 146. So there's a large gap. Rintrah was the end of a tier. I talked about Rintrah in my video, and so you can check that out. As you know, I have a bit of a hatred of that bull. He's still a bull. I don't care. Cows can have horns. I learned that in the last video. They can still have horns. All right. Now, number 10 in my list is none other than Quicksilver. I talked about it at length in my science video. I've done a ton of videos on Quicksilver. You are familiar with why I think he is so good and so powerful. Now, I understand that a lot of you would just never get used to his mechanics or his animations, let's call them, his combos, and that's fine. I'm not going to try to tell you that you have to. This game is no longer at that point, and it's really nice. There is no champion that you have to have or have to be good with anymore. So if you don't like Quicksilver, I suggest you try a few more times, but if you just don't like him, that is fine. But I will say, and I will continue what I did in video 1, I'll continue in this one, where I'm going to give them do I think they're going to be higher, lower, or are they kind of stabilized? I think his stock is actually on the rise. He was hit hard with how difficult it was to get his animations down, his combos into specials and things like that. And as a result, people just didn't play him very much. For whatever reason, I found it as a challenge. I've enjoyed doing it. I still make mistakes with it sometimes, particularly if I'm streaming and trying to concentrate on a lot of different things. But he is phenomenal. Check out my Quicksilver playlist if you're like wondering what the heck I'm talking about, or go and watch the science video and I'll talk to you about all the things. This video just, I know, can get very long if I went into that level of depth on every single champion. Now, the reason why I have him with this the arrow up is I can see that it's happening. I can see that people in the community are starting to rank him. They're starting to get him a little bit more. There was other people who saw how valuable he is, but it's starting to happen. Maybe even just my own Alliance chat, my Discord server, the comments on my YouTube channel. People are like, okay, I went back and I tried him again, or I ranked him up for prestige, but now I'm using him Battlegrounds. Also, the Battleground scoring change, I think, is very helpful to him because just another 10 to 15 seconds is helping get him all nicely set up. There's a lot of damage he can do in that period of time because he is about that large burst. Do it without taking much damage himself. He is an annoying defender, right? His specials are very difficult to dex. Number 10, would not be shocked if he's higher up, and he's definitely stabilized, but I think he's on his way up. Number 9 in my servers rankings was none other than CGR, and this was, like I said, Rintrah was the end of a tier, and CGR is in his own real tier with 34 tallied points. Talked about him a lot in the previous video, my part 1 for this, because I had him at number 14, so you can go and check that out. I'll talk about him in length, obviously, in the Cosmic video too. I do think he has some utility that often doesn't get mentioned, so keep that in mind. Now, my number 9 is none other than Valkyrie. I've recently taken mine to rank 5, really doing my best to replicate what I've seen folks like Bittersteel, FinTech, and the likes do with their Valkyries. I'm not doing a very good job of doing exactly what it is they do, but I'm still pulling off phenomenal results. Any champion that can do that much damage with never actually landing a hit is a big plus right there. And then the fact of the matter is, when she actually does land her hits, you can get her going even faster. Her signature ability, getting her at 200, making her stun immune, or the opponent just acts as if they weren't unstoppable. There's a reason we keep seeing unstoppable over and over in war, and then particularly in Battlegrounds, is because it's very difficult to deal with. And she just turns that off. She's amazing. She's great. I actually have her as stable because I just don't think she's going to go higher. I think we've probably discovered as a community and to these players pushing the forefronts with her, I think they've really set, like, this is how good she is. I don't see the game asking us to do more of the things with her. It'd be, I think, unusual if they did, or it'd be surprising. So I think this is about right for her. She's one of the best skill champions in the game. She's a number 9. Yeah, I want to make sure I look at my list again. I was the number 9 champion in the game. So this isn't really like putting her down to say she's probably nice and stable. Let's go and move on to number 8. My server's number 8 champion and the start of the next tiers with 56 total points is Apocalypse. Very, very good champion. You'll see us talk about Apocalypse a little bit later in mine. My number 8 is Tigra. Now, I always want to say these sorts of things, or frequently try to remind people, if you're not good at Tigra, if you don't enjoy Tigra, it's kind of like Quicksilver, don't rank them up, because it's just going to be a waste. But if you do like her, oh boy, you can do tremendous, tremendous things. Fintech continues to show us in the Vega Battlegrounds Championship how amazing he is with Tigra, but also the things she can take, right? Like bishops and all the cosmic champions and things like that. It's phenomenal, and she is an absolute nuke, which is very rare in her class, right? We talk about that. Like, if a champion stands out in their class and then also still has the abilities or other things that go along with their class, that is a really great sign for me, or liking a champion. Her damage, quick capabilities to go along with her neutralize are incredibly, incredibly powerful. And then I think Battlegrounds has only heightened her prestige. I would put an up arrow on her, but I don't see her moving up anymore. But I think she is incredibly, incredibly stable as the number 8 champion in the whole game. Coming in as the number 7 champion for my server was Tigra, coming in with 67 or 60 total points. So again, you can see this tier, kind of this collection of champions there. Now we'll go ahead and move on to my number 7 champion. We are heading back to the Mystic class here, and none other than Absorbing Man. I can see why people would put Tigra above, but Absorbing Man fits the type of champion I like better, which is the outrageous highs might not be as regular. I am aware, and I've put out that I think he's by far the best option for Terrax and Annihilus. I've been saying that for a while. But aside from those two, I think he's rarely going to be like the best option, but he's great. He's a 9 out of 10 across a variety of options. We saw that on display today with Fintech versus Andrew the Rough in Battle World Vega Battlegrounds Championship. They both put on tremendous displays using both his Uru form and his Magma form, and why you would want to be in those both for defensive and offensive reasons. Utilizing his heavy into his special mechanic. Fintech was even using just the heavy because it does nice damage anyways, and then of course into the specials as well. He's phenomenal. He's great. I love him. Stable at this point. I don't see him moving up, but again, we're the number 7 champion in the whole game. Feeling very, very stable. Would be very surprised to not see him on this list when we go over it again in December. My server's number 6 champion was Valkyrie. We just talked about her a little bit, and mine is Omega Red. Now, I guess the contingency is that you have him at a high sig, and you do want to appropriately rank, but that's a real thing. You want to rank the champions that are really great, and there's a lot of champions that really want that high sig. He is phenomenal. He is someone who appears to potentially, I'm not going to quite call him timeless, but he was made in 2018. So he's in his 5th year here, closing up his 5th year. And I mean it when I say I think he's the 6th best champion in the whole game. And you don't even have to be running recoil. I do think it might be a bit of a prerequisite if you want to score highly enough in Battlegrounds. But the whole game isn't Battlegrounds. There's war, there's questing, those sorts of things. He can be healing, of course. And his tentacle attacks don't take the damage back, which is part of why I think he's a little bit timeless. You do need to play him a certain way to really get the maximum out of him, but you could say that about every single champion on this list. I do think, though, and this is where I'm going to kind of have the, in quotes, or the negative here at the side, is I do have the down arrow with him. I think there's a reason why my server doesn't have him as high up as I do. I think there's a reason why he made their honorable mention. And I think that's partially because the game is often asking us to do other things, or there's other champions that are kind of filling in what he can do. It's that Venn diagram that we often talk about. He's still great. I have him at number 6. I don't think he's going to not be on this list in January or December when we do this at the end of the year. But especially if enough mutants come out, or if we see that they're being asked to do a lot of other things, often our mutants are being asked to have the prowess or something like that, and he doesn't do that. But as I've talked about, when a champion is unique in their class and they're also good, I actually like that more. So what would feel like him losing value to me is actually giving him more value because he's so uniquely rare in his class outside of doing these massive specials or having the prowess buff at all. I really like Omega Red. I don't think he's going to not be on this list, but I do think he's maybe someone to keep your eye on. See how they progress is over the next year and a half, especially if more mutants, hopefully they do start coming out and they start to maybe take over a little bit of what he does. Still think he's amazing, number 6, but he does have that down arrow. The number 5 champion for my server was Absorber Man. We talked at length about what he does, and I think that makes a lot of sense. That's also the end of a tier for them. APOC started that tier with 56 tallied points, and Absorber Man finishes it off with 66. Really makes a lot of sense. You see where I've been ranking the champions. And then let's go ahead and move to my number 5 champion. We're headed back to the mutant class. And this is another champion where I'm going to have a bit of a down arrow. I'd be shocked. In fact, I would almost guarantee he's still on this list in December of the year. But it's almost a different situation than what's happening with Omega Red. With Apocalypse, for me, it's that it's similar to what's happened with Captain America Infinity War. They're so great at so many different things that I feel like the game is less often asking us to do that. I've talked about this, right? Where there was these generals who could do like everything and they were phenomenal. That's what you wanted. And then you had these very niche champions that could just knock out this incredibly important fight. And in fact, oftentimes you felt like you maybe even couldn't get through that fight without them. And the game is more and more moved to what Campo coined the term, but really specialists, where they couldn't do all of the things as the generals, but they were better at it, those 2 or 3 or 4 things, and they could do a lot more than the niche. And I feel like Apocalypse fits more into that generalist category. And yes, what is it? The Grandmaster's Gauntlet jokingly could have been called Apocalypse's Playground, right? Like, he could take so many fights there, and I used him for that, and he's great at it. But then you're done with that content. Well, unless Kabam keeps resetting it, in which case we're never done with it, but you get the point. It wasn't like Labyrinth of Legends or Abyss of Legends where there's multiple paths to be doing. He's great. He's phenomenal. I have him as number 5, but I do have him as the arrow going down. I'd be shocked if he's not on this list in December. I'd be very surprised if he's not on this list in June of next year. But let's see where he's at in December of 2024. That's one I'm curious about. Again, similar to Omega Red, where as more mutants come out, we just haven't been getting more. And Danny Moonstar is obviously very powerful. I probably should have been in the honorable mentions. I don't know. That might be a bit much. But the point remains, more and more mutants may come out, more and more nodes, defenders, things like that. Keep your eye on Apocalypse. I think there's nothing wrong with ranking him up. I think he's a phenomenal rank up right now. I just have the arrow down, which isn't really a big deal considering he's already the number 5 champion in the whole game. Let's move on to number 4. Coming in as my server and my number 4 is Nimrod. Now, he's my server's number 4, and he's in his tier of his own with 98 tallied points. And when I actually went through to do this list, the irony is I was tempted to put him in that broken group that I did in video 1, right? That just makes it almost difficult to rank them because they're so outrageously powerful in one scenario and a variety of scenarios, where they're almost just, like I said, broken. I feel like they almost make the game worse, but I enjoy playing them. I enjoy my powerful champions that save me items. Don't get me wrong. Nimrod feels that way in a lot of ways, but I don't think he quite is. Remember, I pulled him very early and I was like, you guys, it's not just mutants. It's healing. It's prowess. He's amazing. He is amazing. He's a good defender too. And then his signature ability amplifies him in ways that I don't even know if Kabam fully had, to use DLL's term, clocked yet. But then I am at number 4. That means there's 3 champions better than him. I don't have an arrow down. I think it will eventually happen because I think Kabam's going to kind of find a way to handle the Nimrod problem. I would love it if mutants would stop coming out with prowess. That would be helpful for the Nimrod problem, but it would probably have other knock-on effects that I haven't calculated yet. So I get it. He's great. He's phenomenal. Rank him up. Have fun. He'll probably be my next tech rank 5. I really could have taken him up over future Ant-Man, and maybe I should have. But he's going to be banned in the next war season. He's phenomenal. He's great. I think it'll be a very long time before we see him as a 7-star. Nimrod. Number 4, I have him as holding steady, no arrow up, no arrow down. Number 4 champion, very, very few reservations about having him that high. In fact, literally no reservations about having him that high up in this list. Okay, my server and I have the exact same 3 champions in the top 3, but they are in different orders. My server's number 3 champion, and this is a tier jump, okay? Nimrod had 98 tallied points. Scorpion comes in with 133, so it's a big tier jump. But keep in mind, number 2 has 137, number 1 only has 146. So when you get those jumps, remember, number 15 was a tie at 14 tallied points. So it shows you how powerful these champions are in a variety of people's minds. Number 3 for my server was Scorpion. Number 3 for me is Hulkling. Now, I'll explain a little bit why Hulkling's so great, and then we'll move on from there. And most of you have probably seen a video or 2 of mine, and there's a good chance you've seen a Hulkling video. I hope you have, because day 1 of testing with CCP servers, like, this champ's built different. He's different. Now, there's some of you who might say he's broken. I don't think he is. I have him in the OP category, right? Thanks to you all, I've learned that I cannot say he has high levels of OP-ness. I have to say he is very high in the categories of that makes one OP. We're all childish at some points, and it's fun. He's fantastic. He's amazing. There are Mystic champions that will beat him up, and that fits, in my opinion, within the class wheel. I know he has some immunities and things like that that can be troublesome and annoying, but he's a very good defender. But there are counters to him. There's RPG counters to him, and there's also tactical ways to play him differently or attack him that are good counters to him. He handles Penny Parkers and great at it, but he fits again with the champions that I like, where they're not just shutting down this very specific place or niche in the game. He's as close to a generalist as I think we get to the game now, but he's more of a specialist who's just so powerful in a variety of places. I love him. I love the build. I love the playing him. I love the going unblockable with him. I love that you can play him and try to just hit him to block a lot and do a lot of damage through the block with the block penetration and his Pierce buff. He's phenomenal. He's amazing. I think because he is so powerful, it'll probably be a very long time before we take him to rank, before we see him as a 7-star. He was my first 6-star rank 5. I have literally no regrets about it. None. I've been able to use him in war. I've been able to use him in battlegrounds. I placed him on war defense. I placed him on battlegrounds defense. My 2 favorite modes of the game, the 2 most competitive modes, PvP competitive modes of the game. I use him in questing. I use him in power backs. I use him in recoil. I love him. I love Hulkling. I'll explain why he's not higher up on the list when I talk about number 1 and number 2, given how much I love this champion. My server's number 2 champion was Hulkling, and I admire it. I love it. Now, it was 137 tallied votes to 133, so, it was pretty close. But I'm putting Scorpion at number 2, and I'm putting him number 2 with his synergy partners. And I'm doing that because, you could do this with a lot of champions, right? Like Cable with his synergy partner is amazing. Agent Venom with his synergy partners are incredible. Well, Scorpion without his synergy partners is probably the number 3 champion on my list. So he's not exactly falling down. And in fact, with enough of the synergy partners, he's number 1. He's that amazing. And, I wonder if we can scroll down far enough to see it. His synergy partners are very, very good. And he helps make his synergy partners better too. So these synergies don't just work one way, right? The one with Venom and then Agent Venom. The one with Spider-Man, right? I think he's got the really great one for Spider-Man. And you see all the various champions up there with Iceman, who's also very, very good. I have him at a relatively high 6 because there was a point in time where I thought I'd be taking him to rank 5 where he'd fit into my prestige and these sorts of things. And that's amazing for me in Battlegrounds because I healed back. I used him in war to take that 54 Mangog that, please, can people stop putting Mangog on 54? Please, just someone. Just don't do it. It'd be great. Because it's gotten so boring. It's probably not even 54. It's 52. Whatever. You know what node I'm talking about. But he's got tremendous damage. He has the shifting immunities that you can pick. He has the damage sources that you can pick, making him phenomenal for battlegrounds. And just general questing in war. And then also, he has these like nuggets of utility, right? With his, I think it's a special one, applies the taunt. Well, when he's got the taunt, he can block unblockables from Mystic champions. I think it's limited. It's amazing. He's great. I love him. He's a phenomenal, phenomenal champion. I think with his synergy partners, his full team, he's the number 1 champion. Without any of them, he's number 3. I threw in 1 because they're very good and it makes sense. A lot of modes you're bringing on at least a synergy partner. I think he's over number 2. I put him even above my boy Teddy. It hurts a little bit, but I love Scorpion too. Campo called it out. He was gonna be good in his CCB testing. Campo called it out. Campo knows what he's talking about. All right, now let's move on to number 1. And this was number 1 was my server's number 1. My number 1, my server had 146 points, so I don't think it's enough to create a separate tier. I didn't have to think too hard about it. Number 1, Kingpin. You know, one of the things that we kind of started learning on him was that he was just really hard to attack. He was hard to defeat. There's so many nodes you could take with him. We thought you needed the hood synergy. Came to find out you didn't. Because if you get enough debuffs on him, he's going to go overpower anyway. He's constantly healing throughout most fights. He can land the debuff with his SP1, which also reduces ability accuracy as well. Or you could not and go through your SP2 route and going unstoppable and those sorts of things. He even turns out to be a really good defender in Battlegrounds. He's a phenomenal war attacker. He's a great quester. AQ, you want to save items, just regular questing. You can use them with synergy partners, you can use them with not. There's just a litany of things that you could be said that are positive about Kingpin. And he just doesn't even need the synergy partners. That's why I have him as the number 1. And I do think he's a slightly better defender than Scorpion. Scorpion's more got a thing that makes him annoying, where Kingpin himself is difficult, or just so big, a big health pool and that sort of thing. His mechanics make him tough. I have him as number 1, and I think he is. I think it'll be a very long time before we see him as a 7-star. And I do think Scorpion, Kingpin, Hulkling, and Nimrod, I do think they're champions where some of you might say, and I can't tell you you're wrong, I just don't feel that way, I don't agree, that they should have gone in that broken tier with Fury, Ghost, Herc, Torch, Doom, Archangel, Red Magneto, and Kitty Pryde. But I just don't feel it. I feel like they are OP. They have high levels of things that make them OP, but they aren't broken. Thank you so much for watching. I love doing this exercise. Like I said, it helps me crystallize my thoughts and makes me back up why I believe the things I do. And then it also makes me, I do these lists and then I look at them like, do I really think that? And then it forces me to go back, of course, because I want to say what I mean in these videos. Thank you to my Discord server and everyone on there for participating in this. I think we shared so much ideas, ideology, thoughts, how we're playing the game. Started talking about champions that aren't even making these lists, and people are like, yeah, I like that champion too. It's just an absolute blast. I'm very much looking forward to doing this again in December. Let me know what you think we got right. Let me know what you think we got wrong. Did my server get it right? Did I get it right? Are we both idiots? I know some of you think that. But it's all fun. It's all gravy. Thank you so much for watching. Take care.